If we're looking for indicators of health, knowing our body fat percentage and when we are in that range can be really helpful. For women, considering your menstrual cycle. Is it regular? Does it come with a lot of drama? Some drama is natural. At the same time, can we manage it? Do we turn into a completely different person? That might be a sign for us to look at, some other things. Regular, by the way, is typically somewhere between 25 and 35 days apart, 27, 35 days apart. Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hey friend, welcome back to a new episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm Jenn Trepeck, your health and lifestyle coach, here with you every week for wellness without the weirdness. And my friend Keith is back with us. Hi, Keith.
Hey, Jen.
How are you?
I'm great, thanks.
The magic of technology all the way from California. We get to hang out.
Love it.
So I don't think you've heard these yet because they haven't aired while we're recording this, obviously, a little ahead of time. So this episode is jumping off of our last two. So the beginning of July, we discussed highly preventable diseases. Essentially, the diseases that respond to lifestyle changes, which, spoiler, is like every disease. So if you haven't listened yet, go back and listen to that one too, although it's not necessarily a prerequisite for today. And then last week, our featured guest wrote a book called Uncurable. And so our conversation was really about those moments and really the options that you have when your doctor says, there's nothing more we can do for you. You have an uncurable disease or diagnosis. And today, I wanted to come at this from the other side of it, not from disease, but from health. So how do we know if we're healthy, right? What are those signs? Because I think so often we talk about like waiting till we go to the doctor and then the doctor tells us something's wrong. And part of that, I think, is a function of us not realizing fully, like we might think something's off, but not even necessarily knowing what to look for signs of wellness, because we're always looking for signs of sickness. What do you think?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
All right. So that's our plan for today. I have a lot in my notes, so we'll do as much as we can. Really quick, though, we have to talk about the Happy Healthy Hub. So friends, are you a member? Because it's fun in there. So members get a recipe each week. This week's recipe is, perfect for summer. It's 15-minute pesto shrimp. You could eat it hot or cold. It is one pan, ready in 15 minutes. Pair it with whatever veggies you have in the fridge or whatever you're in the mood for, or even do like zoodles, like the zucchini noodles. It's amazing for summer. Leftovers are great too. Eat them cold, whatever. If you want this recipe, be sure you're a member of the Happy Healthy Hub. You'll go to asaladwithasideoffries.com/membership for just $12 a month. Or by the way, you can prepay the whole year. Then you get the whole year for $120. And that's like 2 months free. So every single month, you get weekly recipes, curated articles, discounts from me and our partners. By the way, this month, our members got extra discounts on merch, which is super fun. That was in all of your emails and in the hub. Expert interviews in full video, including some behind the scenes content. And then, of course, access to our community board where we can interact, ask and answer questions, and so much more. So I tell everybody this is sort of the next best thing to the podcast or working with me as your coach, right? It gives you a little bit more support, some one-on-one support when you use the community board for the Ask Me Anything. So if you're ready to level up your health and support this podcast in the process, go to asaladwithasideoffries.com/membership. Once you're there, you're going to click subscribe now. Follow the prompts to enter your payment info, create your login to access the hub and all of your benefits. And of course, you'll get this week's recipe for the 15-minute pesto shrimp. So all of that is at asaladwithasideoffries.com/membership. Okay. So as I was putting all this together, it occurred to me that maybe the place to start is debunking a myth, like I love to do, which is what we think health looks like. Not to put you on the spot, Keith, but what's the picture you have in your mind of health?
Maybe it starts with looks. When you look good, you feel good. When you feel good, you do good.
Yeah. And I think, and I'm curious if you agree with this, like from what I see and experience in the world, and maybe this is just living in the US, but I don't know. I'm curious if you live all over the world, let us know. But I think that it's like looking quote unquote good, right? Look good to feel good, right? Like you said, I think we have this perception that it's, beautiful tanned skin, right? Boundless energy, never getting sick, never having a rough day, a flat stomach, toned arms, looks great in a swimsuit. You're nodding. And it's funny, like, not everyone looks like that. And that doesn't mean that the people who don't look like that aren't well. And it doesn't mean that the people who do look like that are. Oh my God, do you remember, now I'm going back, do you remember that woman in New Jersey who was taking her 6-year-old to the tanning salon and she was lived in a tanning bed? But we have this perception of what healthy looks like. And for most people too, it's this elusive, imaginary vision of themselves. And for the most part, I think people are probably better than they think. And it's a lot of this information coming at us that makes us think that if we don't look like that, then we must be doing something wrong. And there's something wrong with us if we're happy with what we look like. I don't know, maybe, you're in California. Maybe we're not exactly a quality sample size here. But do you see that? Do you feel like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think perception isn't always reality, but yet you brought up another good point about the energy, which you can see sometimes, but then us in our 30s, energy has a changing point, and at a certain point, you can look totally healthy, but maybe something isn't right inside.
Absolutely. Yes. And there's this stigma around what we look like so much too, that we tend to draw these lines that maybe don't exist in reality. So I think it's fair to say if you have doubted yourself, maybe pause and keep listening. And I think a big piece of this and sort of the way I have this organized is for us to really think about, and I'm hesitating to use this word because I feel like now it's gotten sort of trite, but holistic, right? Not just the body, not just muscle or whatever, right? That there's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual wellness. And all of those things probably are part of, are we healthy? Are we well?
Definitely.
So I have these organized kind of into categories. So let's start with food and movement front.
Okay.
And everyone I think is going to expect me to say, protein, fiber, blah, blah, blah. Sure. Except for today's conversation of signs of wellness, I'd rather us focus on our energy around food and our mental space around food.
Tell me more.
So what I mean by that is, are you a drill sergeant around your food? Or are you relaxed and comfortable? You feel empowered. You make quality, healthful choices most of the time. Your body's giving you signals that you listen to. Your appetite is, I'm trying to think of the right word. Controlled isn't the word that I want, but your appetite is noticeable and it can be satiated and it doesn't feel insatiable all the time. We don't feel like we're at the mercy of our appetite or cravings. You feel satisfied when you eat. You might, you pay attention to what you eat and you also enjoy food without guilt.
Mm.
Tell me what's going through your mind. I see the wheels turning.
Well, the guilt could be you're supposed to eat and you're supposed to eat well balanced, like you're saying, but also it's okay to have a cheat meal or a cheat day in order, because if you're sacrificing your happiness of like you're only eating XYZ healthy food and you're just miserable, you're going to create a whole host of other problems.
Exactly. So, like, there's joy in eating, and that's part of wellness. That is an
Right.
innately human piece. Not to say other animals don't have that too, but to remove that, I think diminishes our health.
I agree.
Okay. Other things, a lot of this sort of harkens back to my book a little bit, but let's talk about poop for a sec.
My
So,
favorite.
right. So, digestion and elimination, looking at the color, the consistency, like the texture, right? Of not that you're playing with your poop to know the texture, but you guys know what I mean. Uh, the frequency of our elimination, somewhere between like 1 to 3 times a day. More than that, we might want to look at something. Less than that, we probably want to look at something. You know, like there's the stool chart that you can Google and look for things. You know, do you end up with, really irritable digestion all the time? Some discomfort is natural. Is it constant or is it manageable? And we know the things that upset our stomach.
Right. Some things trigger.
Right. Is your urine clear or, deep, deep yellow? If it's fluorescent, by the way, that can happen from B vitamins. So not necessarily a warning, but, we talked about our kidney health a couple weeks ago. But considering, if your urine is usually, a real deep yellow, it's not necessarily a great sign. We're looking for clear urine as a sign of health and wellness. Does your skin sort of bounce back after you pinch it? A sign of hydration. That's a sign of wellness. If we move on to sort of that movement thing, how tangled up is movement and body image or movement and self-esteem? Are we exercising because we hate ourselves or moving because we enjoy how it feels, we enjoy how we feel when we move? Go ahead.
Move to feel good, but then there's a limit of pushing it to get an outcome.
And there might be phases, or some days where we're in the mood for something more intense. It feels different. We might be craving that kind of a feeling. It's almost like what I was saying around like the energy around our food. What's the energy around our movement? And when we choose that more intense exercise, is it because we hate ourselves? Are we trying to punish ourselves? Or is it an interesting experience to see what our bodies are capable of, right? It's a mental shift. So yes, we want to move all the time. We want to get the steps in the day. A couple years ago now, we did the episode with Jordan Syed about the single best exercise you can do. Spoiler, it's walking. Are we walking because we feel better? We're stretching because it helps us feel better, more like ourselves, or even thinking about like the conversation you're having with yourself while you're doing the movement. That can be more of an indicator of health and wellness than the movement itself. Do you take time in your schedule to be active? Is that a priority? Healthful, healthy people make movement a priority in their schedule. Doesn't mean it takes the entire day.
Definitely. Sitting's the new smoking, right?
Right, exactly. And I feel like we can't say that without me saying the other half of my shtick on that philosophy, which is sitting is the new smoking because it's not human for us to sit all day. And it's like this thing we're doing that we don't realize is slowly killing us. It's also not human to sit all day and go berserk for an hour. And it's part of why I call it movement and not exercise, or the gym. And part of that movement too is just consider your daily tasks. Can you move with ease? Are you cautious with every step? That would be a sign that maybe we're not quite healthy.
Mentally, because I'm careful about what I'm walking.
Well, no, but I mean, not because you're careful. I mean, if we feel that there's a reason to be, if things hurt. And so therefore we're making accommodations or, those kinds of things. This is a good one. This is actually a longevity test and unclear fully why it's tied to longevity. I think it's part muscle. I think it's part mind-body connection. But can you cross your legs and sit down crisscross applesauce and get back up without using your hands? It's pretty easy to get down. It is not as easy to get up.
Fair enough. I'm going to try it after this.
So exactly, a little difficult to do on camera. Another marker for this one, and in general in this episode, I made an effort to stay away from like blood work metrics. The piece here is, but considering body fat percentage. We talk about body composition all the time. If we're looking for indicators of health, knowing our body fat percentage and when we are in that range can be really helpful. For women, considering your menstrual cycle. Is it regular? Does it come with a lot of drama? Some drama is natural. At the same time, can we manage it? Do we turn into a completely different person? That might be a sign for us to look at, some other things. Regular, by the way, is typically somewhere between, 25 and 35 days apart, 27, 35 days apart. And again, bleeding for 3 to 5 days, manageable symptoms and amounts and those kinds of things. If it's wildly unpredictable, that might be a sign of something else. So looking at these pieces of saying, what's a sign that I'm well? A regular cycle is a major piece of that. And knowing how far apart they are. Okay, can we move to sort of like, I know we started this mental emotional thing with how we think about food, but I have a few in the mental, emotional, spiritual category. You ready?
Yep.
All right. So this kind of goes back to what we were talking about even in the beginning of what we think healthy looks like. How often are you comparing your body to someone else, to something else, to magazines, to celebrities? This is maybe more of a female thing than a dude thing, as you're looking like, I don't do that at all.
Yeah, I don't think many guys are like, I'm Thor, but at the same time, maybe they go, oh, I put on a couple of pounds, or oh, I'm not as fit as I used to be relative to yourself.
Yes.
Maybe that's the male perspective.
I like that. I also think about this, and the way I phrase it most of the time is, are you on the same team as your body? Or are you always fighting it? Are you mad at it for what it's doing versus looking at it and going, okay, body, what are you trying to tell me? Do you thrive on chaos? I think about this a lot in terms of relationships. I think it's easier to see in relationships. The people who love the drama. I love other people's drama. It's why I like reality TV. Like, I'm here for all the tea. I do not need drama in my life. Some experts call it sort of like chaos to feel alive. It's almost this idea where if there isn't something going on, something's wrong. Like if you're uncomfortable with calm and peace. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
I'm looking to always get rid of the drama.
Yeah. And this idea of needing or thriving on the chaos. I mean, I used to work in hedge funds. People who, function well there tend to thrive on chaos.
Yeah.
It's a sign that our nervous system is not quite right. So if we can handle the chaos and the bumps and have times of peace, that's health. I also think that's very different than this perception of health, which is that somebody maybe never has chaos. That's also not real life. And it goes back to even what we were saying about the food thing. It's not never eating the fries or enjoying the birthday cake or that birthday cake coming with a ton of guilt. It's living in the middle, in the gray, in kind of the wishy-washy and being okay with that. This is, I think, the mental side of that. So then similarly too, with your own emotions, do you feel them? Do you express them? That's healthy behavior, health supporting behavior. Are you able to deal with others' emotions? That's also a sign of our own health, our own mental, spiritual, emotional health. saying what's on your mind, feeling comfortable saying what's on your mind versus always biting your tongue, or setting boundaries. Those are health supporting behaviors of people who are well. And I say this with love to all the perfectionists and recovering perfectionists and the people pleasers. That's part of our work too. That's part of us figuring out what our healthy looks like. And again, going back to that middle ground, it's not never feeling down. Like that's that toxic positivity thing. I would say that's not health either. It's feeling those emotions, having the ups and downs. You can be alone and not feel empty. You can have moments of elation and moments of profound sadness. Experiencing all of the emotions is a sign of our health. And the last piece of this, especially with the mental, emotional, spiritual, is support. Again, this came up in so many conversations recently, and it's not even the perfectionist, it's the hyper independence. I have it. A lot of people I know have it. It's we do so much for ourselves that asking for help is incredibly difficult. Or even when someone offers it, we're like, no, that's okay. I got it. You know, like I remember my ex, like we were in my apartment building and he was going to take my suitcase like up or down these steps. And I was like, that's okay. I got it. And he was like, seriously, would you let me help you? And I was like, oh, okay. You know, working on those pieces is part of our health and wellness. If we're not, and that's not to say that we also, again, it's not these extremes of always being one way or always being the other. It's having both and moving between them. Any thoughts on that before we go to the next category?
I think it's almost like exactly what you're saying with balance, but also recognizing mortality. Like you can do it all the time, but do you really want to? And you're not going to be able to do it forever. So being able to communicate, have balanced relationships and boundaries, like you're saying, all are important. And you got to, like you said, feel through all of those, the ups, the downs, the good and the bad.
Exactly. And again, I think when we consider, are we healthy? Are we well? It includes all of these pieces. And so often we're so busy focused on the swimsuit body that we're not noticing all of these other pieces that are potentially way more important and a way bigger indicator of health and well-being. All right, so this is actually the perfect moment to highlight our sponsor for this episode, BetterHelp. And then we'll come back. I have more categories for us. Good?
Okay.
All right. So I think a lot of what we've been talking about today is potentially a breakthrough moment, recognizing that we have more in our control and there's probably more that we want to focus on. You know, we maybe are noticing places in our lives where we could use some support, that we don't have to figure it out on our own, that we want to set some boundaries, be willing to live in the gray area. For me, that happened through therapy. Some of my greatest lessons are because of therapy. And I also get that it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do is ask for help. And that's part of what I love about BetterHelp and why I want you to know about it, because they make it easier to start. You take a quick quiz, get matched with a licensed therapist, and communicate however it works for you, if you want text or phone or video. And if your match isn't a match, you can select from other therapists at no extra cost. Over 6 million people have gotten help through BetterHelp, and with 4.8 out of 5 stars on the App Store, you know you're in capable hands. Go to betterhelp.com/sideofries for 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/sideofries. And we'll put the link in the episode notes so you can just click it. I highly recommend. Maybe pause this, go do it now, because I think the first half of this whole episode really highlighted the need for our mental, emotional, spiritual support. All right, my next category is sleep. How do we know we're healthy? How do we know we're well when it comes to our sleep? You actually sleep. You can still doom scroll and you sleep. You sleep. You might scroll a little too long. You might wake up every once in a while. You might have a random night where that wasn't the best sleep. You're like, that was unusual. As long as those are the occasional night, we're good. Your body knows how to sleep. It's part of, a sign of health that our body can sleep and rest and relax. It doesn't mean that we never have challenges falling asleep. It doesn't mean that, we don't have the occasional night where we wake up in the middle of the night and have a hard time falling back asleep. It's more about, on the whole, we sleep.
With sleep, is it consistency is more important than like the number of hours, going to bed at a certain time, waking up at a certain time?
The objective is both quality and quantity. Going to bed and waking up at the same times every day supports both quality and quantity sleep. Especially as we age, that deep sleep can be more challenging, which means we might need to place a greater emphasis on focusing on that part of our day. Especially as we age, a nap can be really helpful because I see it over and over with a lot of my clients where as they age, they're waking up earlier and earlier. So the other piece is deep sleep tends to happen for the most part from like 11 to 3. So if we're not going to sleep until 2, we're dramatically cutting into even the capacity for deep rest. So it's a combination. And again, part of that then, right, if we're going to say, are we well, do you wake up rested? Or most of the time, are you waking up exhausted, peeling your eyes open and feeling kind of hopeless? So healthy sleep doesn't necessarily look like jumping out of bed in the morning like Tigger. I don't even know if Tigger jumps out of bed, but he jumps. So in my head, he jumps out of bed, right? It doesn't have to be big, loud, booming personality with tons of energy from the moment the alarm goes off. It's more that for the most part, you wake up rested, you are tired in the evening. And when you're tired, for the most part, it's not completely taking away from every part of your day.
Right. Not to harp on sleep, but like you're saying, the sort of well-balanced aspect of health, you could get the hours and the quality and still not feel rested, but that might be some of the other impacts outside of sleep that's impacting.
Correct. That might be more a function of the quality of the sleep that we're getting, which could be impacted by the caffeine, or it could be impacted by stress, or it could be a whole host of other things. And again, it comes down to what's most of the time. I also think our focus, we did an episode on brain fog and things, right? So signs of health is the ability to focus, mental clarity, quality memory, which goes for all of us with age. So, take that with a grain of salt. But again, it's not remembering every single possible thing and never forgetting anything. It's about functional in our lives. If that memory seems to be dramatically changing, it might be a function of the sleep piece. It might be a function of blood sugar. It might be overwhelm and stress. Knowing that our memory and focus, and even our energy for that matter, right, can be signs of health. Not having it a day or two or occasionally isn't necessarily a sign of disease, yet it can be some of the things that we start to notice before something shows up in our blood work. On that same token with the energy, I would say afternoon crash. So a sign of health is planning breaks in your day, taking vacation, time off. These are signs of health. Feeling like we can't is probably a sign that there's something else for us to figure out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Mindfully planning out your health too.
Exactly. Taking those breaks, oftentimes, if we're not taking breaks for long periods of time, we're not taking time off, we're not sleeping well. What tends to happen?
Yeah, recognizing those signs.
Well, and what tends to happen? Like if you don't sleep well for a while and you're working 24/7 and you're not taking any breaks and you haven't had a vacation in a long time, what tends to happen? Like I get sick.
You get sick, the quality of what you're doing is not great, and it sort of cyclically feeds itself for each other.
Exactly. So getting sick because we've run ourselves down, ironically, is a sign of health. It's our body responding to what we're doing, which is a healthful response. If you have a long time to recover. If we're not bouncing back, then it's a sign that something else is going on. But not getting sick ever isn't the requirement for being healthy. It's if we get sick, because life can happen, it happens occasionally,
Right.
maybe, once or twice a year, you get a cold or whatever. Are you bouncing back? Are you able to recover quickly? Versus you get sick and it snowballs into 85 other things. And now it's 6 months later and, you still have all these symptoms and it's turned into a completely different thing.
So the bounce back is just as important, like a VO2 max for life.
Right. And it's your heart rate variability is a piece of that, a metric to measure there. How well can we adapt and accommodate to whatever is coming at us? And so, again, I just want to make sure people understand it's not about never getting sick. It's also not okay if we're getting sick every month. It's a couple times a year, maybe you get sick, and it doesn't completely take you down for months. Quality circulation also plays into breathing and sleeping. Like your leg falling asleep because you've been sitting crisscross applesauce for way too long, natural. We expect that. If that pins and needles and tingling feeling takes a long time to come back, then we've crossed a line. So again, it's even like we did an episode feels like years ago now, probably was a couple, about your immune system being like Goldilocks. It's all of that for all of this. It's just right, somewhere in the middle. We want the immune system to respond. We want, to get a little red around a cut, and we want that cut to heal.
Right. Looking at my cut right now.
Right. Yep. All right, a couple other random things that I have in my list. Thick hair and strong nails, signs of health. Because those tend to deteriorate with malnutrition often. And they tend to be places where when the body needs something, it's going to pull it from there because those tend to be not so life-threatening things. And your heart pumping and needing minerals would be more important than growing your hair and nails. So thick hair, strong nails, great sign. Headaches, not never having a headache. Maybe having a headache occasionally, and they don't last all that long.
Struggle with that one.
Really?
Yeah, sometimes I think I'm going to survive the apocalypse until I get a headache and I need an Advil.
And listen, occasionally something to help us feel better. Again, how often are you having the headaches? Is it daily? Is it migraines that are super debilitating? Or is it, this is a nuisance and I
Right.
drink too much, I know why I have it?
Oh, I see. I was going to say the coffee part.
Could be
you get
caffeine
coffee
withdrawal.
headaches too. Yeah. So many different types of headaches. Maybe a whole episode dedicated to the type of headache you have.
Yeah. All right, I'll add it to the list. We did a migraine episode. Was that Dr. Meg Mill? Maybe. We might be stretching my memory at this moment. But, again, we don't get many headaches. When we do, they tend to be short-lived. Some more interesting ones in the mouth, healthy gums. So they don't bleed a ton when you floss. A little bit of bleeding is natural. No bleeding is either a sign you're not flossing well or your gums are great. I don't know.
Right. Super gums.
Yeah. Strong teeth, again, goes back to that mineral thing because your teeth are bone. Fresh breath, signs of health. That oral microbiome tells us a lot. Fresh breath, sign of health. Your tongue, this goes a little bit to like Eastern medicine, but a pink tongue, sign of health. Right? I know now. Everybody, pick up your phone, stick your tongue out in the camera, take a look. Is your tongue pink? If you just ate something, it may not be pink. Also, I went to an acupuncturist who was also looking at, how sometimes your tongue can take on the shape.
Acupuncture in your tongue, that's a little bit much for me.
I don't think they do that. I mean, some acupuncturists out there can tell me if you guys do that or not. But she looks at the tongue not just for the color, but also to see the shape. That how sometimes you'll see people's tongue almost takes on the shape of the back of their teeth? Have you ever seen that?
Like they're
Like the tongue is
No.
almost like scalloped from the back of their teeth.
Oh, I thought that was a trick people could do.
Well,
Some
that's
people.
different. That's different. That's like turning your tongue into a flower.
Right. Okay. So people have like biting tongue marks.
It's actually not from biting. It's from the tongue pressing against the back of the teeth. And sometimes it's a little bit of an inflamed tongue. Again, the tongue can be a major indicator of health. So a pink tongue that's not shaped by the back of your teeth or from you doing something, whatever, with your tongue. All right. Our skin, your skin is generally your natural color. It's not itchy. There aren't, I loathe this description, but it's healthy looking skin. It's not perfect. It doesn't mean we never have a pimple. We can have a pimple and the skin clears up. Even thinking about the skin on the rest of your body, not just your face. Are you itchy all the time? Is it very red? Like I tend to just naturally have very red skin. Like other people get tan, I turn red, and sometimes it's not even sunburn, like I just turn red. So knowing your skin can be really important here. And again, we talked about before with the hydration piece, if you pinch your skin, is it holding on to that or is it bouncing back? Are your eyes clear? Signs of health. Not dramatic and frequent acne breakouts. I mentioned, pimples before. Body temperature. Our own sort of normal body temperature within a small range, and our respiratory rate. So if you have, a ring that measures these things or another wearable device that's measuring these things, take a look, right? Dramatic swings and or always very high or always very low are indicators that something else is going on. So a sign of health is our body being able to maintain its body temperature and breathe regularly, have, this sort of respiratory rate that is natural. It tends to be like 14 to 16, 14 to 17 when they look at the respiratory rate. I think it's based on breaths per minute or something like that. Okay, let's consider your hearing also. How loud is the TV? How loud are your headphones? If you notice the TV is really loud, we might have something going on. So being able to hear things that aren't dramatically super loud, helpful. All right, I can't believe it. We made it through my entire list. Signs you are well. Keith, thoughts?
Are you asking me, what are my signs I'm doing well?
No, what are your thoughts?
I think the biggest takeaway here is it's not one thing is indicative of your health. It's sort of the combination of all things that create sort of a composite of health.
Yes, I love that. Absolutely. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to add one more thing to that. And one sign of maybe unhealth or unhealthiness isn't necessarily direct correlation. So that's why you need someone like Jenn to help you understand how all the pieces come together.
You're very sweet. Thank you. I think if I wrap this up, I love your takeaway that yes, it's not this one thing. The other piece is that it's not dramatic in any direction. Real health is almost like the buoy in the water that floats and bobs along. And, oh, go ahead. You want to say something?
I was just say, I know we talked about the gray area of black and white, but I also like your Goldilocks that there's a buoy in the water of you can be towards the left and still be in your Goldilocks zone. You can be towards the right. And you're still within that zone of health.
Yes. And I think the other pieces that I want to add as we wrap up is that you trust yourself and your body more than every message that is coming at you from the internet.
It's very philosophical, but I hear what you're saying.
I talked about this a lot.
Well.
Yes, and I talked about this a lot in the book Uncomplicating Wellness. We, our own best physician, we know our bodies best, and there's a lot coming at us. So we have to have that filter for ourselves. And my intention is that this episode helps us refine our own filter to communicate better with our bodies and understand our bodies. And then we can sort of put the blinders on or put the earmuffs on so that all the voices from the outside that are telling us if we don't look a certain way, if we don't weigh a certain thing, if we don't have a certain skin tone, if we, whatever it is, that we're not well unless. And so what we know here is that we also don't even have to feel healthy every single day all the time. And that still doesn't mean that we're not healthy. We can be well and have days where we don't feel so healthy.
So it's individual and not by comparison
Yes.
to the public.
Yes. And that our objective is to better understand ourselves and our own body so that when something changes for our normal, that's an indication for us to say, something's off. I need to dig deeper. I need to look more. All right. I think that does it for this, which means that we have to preview our nutrition nugget. So on Friday and this week's bite-sized bonus episode, we're talking about slow maxing. Have you heard of this trend?
Maxing, but tell me more.
Okay. So we had protein maxing. We had looks maxing. I think there's been a bit of a fiber maxing. And now we have slow maxing. So what is it? Is this one that we want to jump on board with? We're going to discuss it on Friday in this week's bite-sized bonus episode. So be sure, wherever you're listening, click the plus sign or the follow button, and then your app will alert you when it goes live on Friday morning. All right, friends. As always, I'm Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. I'm at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Website is asaladwithaside-of-fries.com. Pick your platform, send a message. Hearing from you is literally the highlight of my day. Your questions, your ideas, your takeaways. This is also the easiest way to learn more about working with me as your coach. Keith, thank you again for joining me this week. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me, Jen.
Absolutely. And of course, friends, if you are not already, I invite you to the Happy Healthy Hub. You'll go to asaladwithaside-of-fries.com/membership. This shows your support for this podcast, this community, and above all, your health. On top of access to the community board where we can interact, ask and answer questions, and so much more, you get discounts, curated content, and then, of course, this week's recipe for the 15-minute pesto shrimp. So until next week, remember, the choice is yours. You can either wait for your doctor or your blood work to tell you that there's sickness, or you can proactively look for signs of wellness. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform, share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it and you are worth it. Happy healthy.